Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third round of the Club vs. Cup Championship on the WorldSimSeries platform. From the United States of America, we head over to Great Britain, and the first track that we are visiting in this continent is the Donington Park circuit, 4 kilometers long, 12 corners in total, and as usual, two types of vehicles racing on the track. Currently we are in the qualifying session. Four classes in total. That's GT4 Pro Plus, GT4 Pro M for the GT4 series, and further down the field we have the MX-5M and the MX-5 Pro M class. And if we would take a quick look at the current standings of the championship after two completed rounds. In the MX-5M class, Shire is in the lead with 43 points, Kudirka is currently second with 33 points, and Janovsky is third with 25. You can see the ballast of the cars by the side of the drivers' names. The MX-5 Pro M class sees Barbukov in the lead, followed by Silagi and JL in the third position. The GT4 Pro M class is led by Nikanen, followed by Spon and Dautartas, and the main class, where we usually see the biggest challenges and the biggest fights, is currently led by Jan Nimtz. He is first with 50 points, Talianos currently second with 33 points, and Mendelis is on par, not only with points with Talianos, but also with the weight of the car. So this is the short introduction of what's ahead of us this afternoon, and let's get back to the racetrack where the qualifying session is still happening live, as Nimtz is back in the pit lane and his qualifying session is done. Talianos is currently second, only 1/10 behind, and well, his car is still not the lightest one, even though Talianos doesn't have the same amount of ballast added to his car here this afternoon. It looks like he's looking pretty strong. Maybe this is gonna be the first time we will see someone at least trying to challenge the unstoppable dominance of Jan Nimtz this afternoon. And Matas Mendelis is third, already 4/10 behind. Radekis joined this championship as I think he's just joining this championship as a guest driver. He's currently fourth, 5/10 behind Jan Nimtz. The MX-5 class is led by Sendersky, and this is a M driver, a MX-5M driver, who is basically lower on stats on the WorldSimSeries platform, and second position currently belongs to Barbukov. He's roughly 4/10 behind Sendersky. Third place currently held by Pateidl. Some of the new names are sometimes hardly to pronounce, so sorry for my bad English or bad communication. And Pateidl is also a driver from the MX-5 class. So, looking at on the track, Talianos is... Let's find where Talianos is. This is actually Matas Mendelis. Talianos is about to cross the line. He did cross the line. The time has ran out, and I think he did not run any faster. Matas Mendelis also crossing the line. No improvement there. What about Radekis, who is actually in the lead of the Pro M class, which is basically a surprise, but I'm not sure how the system currently works here on the WorldSimSeries platform. But I think that the drivers who join the championship without starting in the first events, they are basically automatically promoted to the lower tier series of the class. That's why we see Radekis driving for the M class. So Dautartas stays in third and Spon Dautartas stays fourth and Spon fifth. And where is the next Pro Plus class in the GT4? It's Baranauskas and Taberna, so it looks like this time the field of the GT4s is gonna be dominated by the Pro M drivers, not the Pro Plus drivers. I wonder what that's gonna lead to. The Donington Park circuit is 4 kilometers long, 12 corners in total. We have a nice mix of slow, mid and fast corners, a couple of hard braking zones, so we might expect some of the overtakes happening here in both of the classes. Of course, we have we need to not forget about the multi-class type of racing, where the drivers will need to deal with the traffic. Results on your screens. I'm not sure if these are the qualifying session results. These are the qualifying session results. Let's see them quickly because the race is about to start, and hopefully you were able to read through the results. We see them definitely on the left side of your screens as the starting procedure is on, and we should about to get going. Jan Nemts moves off of his standing position quite nicely. Mirdita has received a drive-through penalty for jumping the start, and Jan Nemts holds on to the lead. Matas Mendelis holds on to the third position. And I think we've missed Talianos at one point on the results tower because Radekis has started the race from P4 and he stays fourth. There are more racing action here further down the field, and I think LaRue was the driver who went sliding off the racetrack. Let's try to catch up with the MX5 class, and Barbukov is straight on the attack on Sendersky, and I think Barbukov has managed to snatch the lead of the MX5 class as we still kind of get shuffled around the order, around the track, and we've been put into all sorts of different positions. What a nice camera angle as we catch up with Pateidl, who qualified quite nicely, and he cannot hold on the car on the grass, and I think he was a little bit too eager with the power to get back on the track, and this is where all things go wrong for the driver who has joined this championship. Well, at least it's the first time I see the name in this championship, and well, the qualifying session did go quite nicely, but it didn't end well. Driving on board with Edvinas Radekis, who has joined this championship. This is one of the slowest corners on the racetrack. Turn 12 it was, that turn that leads onto the main straight. The first corner is not so good for overtaking, and I think you need to kind of try and put your rival into some sort of a mistake running out of that final corner if you want to get a chance of an overtake into the first corner. But we now joined the slightly faster section of the track with fast right-hander. No overtaking here, though Matas Mendelis makes a small mistake, and the battle between the two Lithuanians is building up. Matas Mendelis, he's here in the fight for the championship, and well, he understood that he made a small mistake, didn't want to go in the way of his fellow racing driver, so quite nice battle between these two drivers. Lots of respect, and Edvinas Radekis, well, I think he didn't want to wait out till Matas Mendelis will catch up with the slide of his car, and he just took the position, and now up to P3 overall, and still in the lead of the M class. He's now separated by Matas Mendelis between himself and Spon. And it looks like Matas Mendelis still having a slightly better pace here on the opening laps, though he made a mistake. Edvinas Radekis sent his Porsche sideways. Remember, the drivers will need well, the GT4 drivers actually have a couple of choices of strategy, but well, most of the drivers, or basically all of the drivers, they are avoiding the need to change the tires while they make a pit stop, and some of the drivers might go for a no-stop strategy. You can do this in this championship in a GT4 car, but it's a very complicated and difficult technique to race around this series. Mirdita drive-through taken. Przybylka is out of this race. We have seen him standing and facing the wrong direction on the main straight. Leroux is again back to the end of the GT4 pack. Barbukov still in the lead of Sendersky. As we kind of shuffled through the multicam view, now we are joined by the full screen view and riding together with Sendersky. He qualified first, dropped down to second on the opening lap, and now he's just patiently trying to hold on. But the good news for Sendersky is he doesn't need to take a win here, because he's still in the lead of the MX-5M class, and Barbukov is a driver of the Pro M series. Matas Mendel is back in front of Edvinas Žadeikis, and this little battle between the two Lithuanians doesn't promise too much of good finishing positions for both of them. Look at Spon, he's already right on the tail of Edvinas Žadeikis. So while these two drivers were kind of in a battle of their own, the drivers behind them gained on them. The drivers in front of them made a bigger gap. Jan Nimts is already way off into the distance with the heaviest car on the track. 30 kilograms of BOP. Talianos and Mendelis, both drivers have 15 kilograms. Žadeikis, well, he misses the experience of the first two rounds, but he does have the lighter car out of the leaders with 0 BOP, because this is his first race in this championship. Still, Edvinas Žadeikis, he needs to kind of find the real and good rhythm of this championship. Some of the drivers might be on a tire saving strategy, and even more so, some of the drivers might be on a fuel saving strategy. We've seen nice different strategies in the first round. The last round on the Virginia International Raceway greeted us with all the drivers taking a splash and dash pit stop to finish off the race. The MX-5s, they don't have a big tank, a big fuel tank to finish off the race with no stops, no matter how hard the drivers would try to save the fuel. It wouldn't work out, as it might work out for the Porsche drivers, but they need to be very slow. And looking at the pace, looking at the laps of the drivers, I don't think we have any of them being on a fuel saving strategy. Look at the pace of Jan Nims. He's at least 4.5 tenths faster than the next fastest driver, and Talianos, he's currently second, and he's the second fastest driver here on the field. So qualified second, runs second, is currently second in the championship, on par with points with Matas Mendelis, and it's looking good for him in the championship standing situation. Remember, this is a 6-round championship, but only 5 rounds will count towards the overall results of the driver. So if one driver decides to participate in all the 6 races, he will have the chance to drop 1 round with the worst results. And all the rounds are one single race of 45 minutes with a very thirsty cars on fuel. They have a much higher fuel rate situation here in this championship, which is 175%, and the tire wear is 200%. So even though this is a relatively short race, the drivers who have a lot of work to do, and well, they have to be very wise about their driving style. Well, if they decide to not go on fuel saving, they might need to think about tire saving also, because, well, they wear out 2 times faster. So a 45 minutes race equals to 1.5 hour race if the tire wear would be set on 100%. But I think the lockup or the very heavy driving, the very heavy leaning on the tires has even bigger impact on how the tires work throughout the race. So it's not only about speed here, but also about strategy and good racing and well, good driving skills. But whenever you find yourself in a battle, I don't think you have the chance to think too much about all these things regarding the tires. You need to save them, but well, in the situation of Sendersky here, he lost the start to his rival. He dropped down to second, but he was the fastest car in the qualifying session. It looks like he's looking pretty strong and pretty racy here. He's in the lead of the M-Class. Barbukov in front is the Pro-Am driver who runs a little bit wide, and it looks like right now the situation is not very nice for Sendersky. He has bigger pace by the looks of it, but he cannot extract it because Barbukov is kind of struggling right now. So both of the drivers have their rivals further down behind them. So Markaitis is currently second in the M-Class, third overall, as Jennings sets another fastest lap time of this race, and Tarciali is the Pro-M driver running in fourth overall and second in the Pro-M class. So Barbukov is basically on a calmer situation here, having Sendersky on his tail. Both of the drivers have the chance, have the ability to think through and think about a strategy, and I think here working together might work best now for both of the drivers. We don't have one overall standing championship. We have two separate championships, even though the cars run on the same track. They race and shear the same corners. But no matter who will finish in front of whom in this situation, so either Sendersky, he can finish second or first in the MX5 class, he will still be first in the M class, and the same goes to Barbukov. So I hope the drivers know that, and I hope they kind of are able to share the knowledge and the understanding of what they should do next here in this race, because by the looks of it, Sendersky struggles. Now he's stuck behind Barbukov, both of the drivers running a little bit wider on the exit of turn 1. Looks like the grass is not doing any damage to the grip or the speed of the car as we ride on board with Sendersky, and you can already see how much smoother through the corners he is going, though in some of the corners Barbukov has a slight edge. Both of the drivers on a very similar pace, and I wonder what would happen and what would change if Sendersky would get in the lead of the MX5 class. Maybe he's just using the advantage of the slipstream situation here and even doesn't think about an overtake. He's actually in a very good position. Both of the drivers are extending their lead against their main rivals, so there's nothing to change here, and maybe just a calm race by both of the drivers. This is one of the trickiest corners here on the Donington Park circuit, especially on the Assetto Corsa version on the virtual racetrack, the SS. They look so tight, but the drivers, they have the chance to cut it a little bit more, and only the track limits set on the virtual racetrack set the limits of the corner for the drivers. And well, as a racing driver, as a sim racing driver, you always want to use the whole width of the racetrack available to you, even though it might look a little bit too much of cutting. But if the system is okay with that, you definitely need to use it, especially in races like this, as we greet the first MX5s here after 13 minutes. So we will definitely see plenty of traffic here in this race as Matas Mendelis and Edvinas Jadeikis continue their journey here. And it looks like it doesn't work out for the drivers to work it together or like teammates, or at least like drivers from one country. They share the same nationality and they are definitely friends in the real life, but it looks like they are struggling on this track. Oh, Edvinas Jadeikis, he took a little bit too much of a curb while returning from the racetrack while rushing through the old hairpin corner. Needs to gather himself, and he will lose plenty of places. This was only an off track. Matas Mendelis can breathe now much more easily as Edwin Ožadeikis made that mistake. He lost 4 places, and well, the main point is he not only lost the lead of the M class, he's now 5th in the Pro M class. He has the pace. And I think from now on, the race for Edwin Ožadeikis is gonna be a little bit more complicated, as he's in front of Lapo, Nikanen and Dautartas, and Spon is a little bit further ahead. But I think that's gonna be a very interesting walk around the racetrack for Edwin Ožadeikis from now on, as he leaves Matas Mendelis in between Talianos and Spon. He has 2 drivers, both of them are roughly within a 3-second range, in front and behind. And we should see now a driver who will look much more calmer on the racetrack, as Matas Mendelis doesn't need to battle, doesn't need to share the racetrack, doesn't need to go through different strategies in his mind while kind of being in a battle with Edwin Ožadeikis. And well, this track can bite, and we've seen that Edwin Ožadeikis, he was a little bit too aggressive on the exit over the curb of the old hairpin corner, and it was more than enough for him to send 2 wheels flying into the air, and we've seen the story from there on. Almost got it, but almost doesn't count, and Edwin Ožadeikis was standing sideways. This is still Sendersky and Barbukov in a battle, and I think this is basically a beautiful teamwork, if you can call it that. The drivers are not main or direct rivals on the racetrack. They're just driving the same class car, but they are in a different category of the standings, as both of the drivers let Matas Mendelis through, and well, the following field will gain on them. So it didn't take too long for the GT4 car field to start overtaking the leading cars of the MX5 class, and we'll see this overtaking happening a little bit more during these coming 28 minutes. And well, oh, someone's off the racetrack. I think it was Markaitis. Yes, indeed. This is the 3rd place MX5 driver, 3rd place overall in the MX5, the 2nd placed MX5M driver, as he was lapped by the faster cars, Edwin Ožadeikis, followed by Yuri Lapo, so he's already up to P7. Remember, he was running 3rd or 4th at the moment of this race. He's now down to 7th. Well, we can already say he's now back up into 7th position. He dropped down to 8th after the spin that he made, and it looks like he doesn't want to wait too long. There is the move on Nikanen. It's not enough on the uphill right-hand corner, Kopice corner. I'm not sure how one should pronounce them. As we approach the SS, Edwin Ožadeikis, he takes the inside of the corner, and he should get the position. Though both drivers run off the racetrack. Yuri Lapo, well, he did have a run on Edwin Ožadeikis. He didn't have enough of space or enough of track to try and overtake Edwin Ožadeikis. It looks like Edwin Ožadeikis will have the chance to hold on to that 6th position, and now he's back up to P3 in the GT4 M class. Young has received a drive-through penalty for cutting the track. That definitely happened in the chicane, and we've seen both Edwin Ožadeikis and Nikanen receiving the penalty, and it looks like Nikanen has had more than enough and decided to go into the pit lane and maybe make a race of his own from now on. A very early stop, just a splash and dash of fuel. I think the drivers need roughly 7 liters of fuel added to the fuel tank to have the ability to finish off this race. And I think it was a clever move by Nikanen, because well, he understood that he was stuck behind faster drivers who made some mistakes. And remember, Nikanen is actually in the lead of the GT4 Pro M class, And during this race, he's not doing so great. His main rivals, Spon, Dautartas, Leroux, and Lapo. Well, Lapo was in front of him. Dautartas is in front of him. Spon is in front of him. Leroux is behind him. So Leroux is fourth in the overall standings. Dautartas is third, and Spon is second, while Nikkanen leads it. But it looks like this race, well, at least now, it's not happening too well for Nikkanen, so he decided to make some changes to his strategy. As we join Dautartas, he's already 6, almost 7 seconds behind Spon, and Spon is 6.5 seconds, well, 5.5 seconds behind Mendelis. And the pace of Mendelis, well, it was slower on the previous lap, but he's only 3.5 seconds behind Italiano. So with this slightly different strategy for the drivers, I think there might be some changes, or at least a small chance for Mendelis to think about a higher place. Look at Jan Nems. He's only 4 seconds in front of Italiano. Remember, he has the heavier car of all the drivers on the racetrack in the GT4 Pro Plus class, and he's still in the lead. So those small struggles that he might face here during the race, I don't think they disturb or interact too much with Jan Nems, and as soon as he'll be greeted by the clear track, I think he'll still have the chance to open up the gap a little bit more. But Tadel, he's now 24th, and it's really hard to tell me which position he's at in the MX5 class, but remember, he started third and he kind of dropped the car on the opening lap and lost a little bit more because it was the opening lap of the race. He lost a little bit more than Edvinas did, as the driver also made a mistake, so it's a little bit heavier job for Patadel to do here. And Sendersky, he's having a look. He's all over the back of Barbukov, and I think the signs are beginning to show up here in this MX5 class that Sendersky, the driver who was slightly faster in the qualifying session, he's basically trying to stick up with Barbukov here. But I think he's kind of weaving and showing the driver in front that he needs to pick up pace because, well, Sendersky can be the faster of the two. A nice battle running down the track, running down the hill. As we see another pack of GT4 approaching these two leaders. Wow, Sendersky, he braked a little bit later here, but he noticed the GT4s in his rearview mirrors, and job done. Sendersky is clear with the GT4 cars. Oh, and one of the GT4 cars is off the racetrack, and I wonder who that is. It's definitely not Meridita, it's definitely not one of the Baranauskas. We have two Baranauskas. Am I seeing things? Two different numbers, two same names, two same surnames, so two Baranauskas. Both of them running in the GT4 class. One of them is a Pro M driver, the other is Pro Plus driver. This is a very interesting situation. Let's look at the names of the drivers. So one of them is Mantvidas Baranauskas, the other is Martinas Baranauskas. And Mantvidas, who's the Pro-M driver, I believe, here in this race that we are riding on board with, has a championship win of a multi-class 1-hour US LMP3 race. And Martinas Baranauskas finished second in the same race. So I think we are looking at two brothers here running and sharing the same virtual racetrack, and with the Pro Plus brother, so that should be Mantvidas Baranauskas, if I'm not mistaken, being the faster of the two. Let's join the battle for returning to the fight for the podium places. This is Radeikis on Dautartas. This is a battle for P2 in the Pro-M class, and Radeikis is definitely the faster driver of the two. His pace was 1 second better than the pace of Dautartas on the previous lap, and both of the drivers approach the end of this current 15th lap as Jan Nims just crossed the line with a lap time of 1 minute 33.7. Wow, Jan Nims is not only fast, but his pace is phenomenally stable. He's definitely not on a fuel saving strategy. I would like to think that he also feathers the tires gently through the corners and doesn't have a problem with them. As other drivers, well, they are in a constant battle, not only with themselves, not only with the traffic, but also with the track and the longevity of the tires. Radeikis goes around the left MX5 car as he approaches the car of Dautartas, and I think Spon was just in the pit lane because he just dropped to P7. So we didn't see a spin, I didn't see a yellow flag here, and I didn't see Spon entering the pit lane, but I'm pretty sure the reason why Spon found himself in P7 is just simply because he went straight into the pit lane, as we have a little bit less than half of the race on the clock, 20 minutes and counting, and this means that some of the drivers have a very nice midpoint to make the splash and dash pit stop, especially good if they see that they are approaching a pileup of the slower MX5 cars. Yes, finally it looks like Sendersky managed to get in front of Barbukov, and Barbukov, he lost quite a lot, and I think he has a little bit of damage on the front of his car, so it's a shame we didn't see what happened here. It was a very nice fight. Both of the drivers are miles ahead of their main rivals. Barbukov is now second overall in the MX5 Pro-M class, in the MX5 class, as Radeikis also went into the pit lane, and Sendersky is in the lead. Look at Terciali, he's 34 seconds behind Barbukov, so maybe Terciali has also been into the pit lane. Remember, these MX5s are a little bit shorter on fuel, and that's when the pit stops should take place. Matas Mendel is on the horizon, using a little bit more than the whole width of the racetrack. Running on the grass, he's still fourth. Well, he's still third. That's what I meant to say. As Radeikis back on track, and a small contact between Edwin Radeikis and an MX5 car. Kletzer is now right on the tail of Edwin Radeikis, but Edwin Radeikis, he returned to the racetrack basically right on the back end of Daniel Spon, and Spon was in the lead of the M class after Edwin Radeikis made that spin down the hill, as Dautartas stays on the track, and I think Dautartas will have the chance to stay a little bit longer, maybe think about a different strategy, or maybe he'll have the chance, and he should think of going straight into the pit lane, because he was in front of Edwin Radeikis before him pitting. So I think his nice chance to try and stay in the battle for higher places in this race is to pit as soon as possible, and that's what he does. He needs to know and he needs to understand the gap between himself and Edwin Radeikis. It's gonna be a very interesting situation here, and Dautartas is off and running. And Spon and Radeikis are running down the straight, so I think it's gonna be a very close situation, but both Spon and Radeikis are through on Dautartas, so that means basically that Edvinas Radeikis is back in P2 in the GT4 Pro M class as soon as Yuri Lapo will head over to the pit lane. Now Yuri Lapo has the chance to decide whether he wants to make a pit stop as soon as possible to try and kind of be on one line on the same strategy to try and understand his chances as he takes a visit of the racetrack, or he can try and stay out on the track. Maybe he'll be able to extract a little bit more speed of the car, if not being if not having the need to look into his rear view mirrors constantly or look ahead of him at his rivals, so he might try and kind of concentrate on the race of his own. His previous lap time was 1:35.0. I believe Edvin Radekis is able to do 1:34.5 at least. But I'm not sure how that's gonna go for Edvin Radekis after the pit stop. Remember, well, it's a very short pit lane, by the way. The pit stop doesn't take too long to complete, as Juri Lapo, well, he just thinks strategically and dives into the pit lane. I think he enjoys to better stay with the pack or stay as close as possible to the pack to try and kind of influence the outcome of the race and of his rivals. Juri Lapo goes off the pit lane. So while being in the pit lane, you're not only slow, your tires become a little bit colder and your car becomes slightly heavier from the added fuel as it was before entering the pit lane. So I believe the first lap, at least the first lap, as the drivers head back onto the racetrack, is a little bit sketchy and very important. Because the drivers, they need to adapt to the slightly changed balance of the car, and they need to slightly bring up the temperature of the tires up. And the tire life, well, it's already worn, and I think it's different on the cars of all the drivers, but that they need to think about it, and well, they need to be very gentle on the opening lap after they make a pit stop, as our leaders are still staying on the track. Yanim's no problems whatsoever as dealing with the traffic and one slower GT4 car. Italianos into turn 1, he's running second and he outpaces Matas Mendeles, who is third. So if the race finishes like this, Yanims will kind of be very strong in contention to take this championship one more time. Well, not this championship one more time, any championship on the WorldSimSeries platform. He will have 3 out of 3 wins so far, but Talianos, he will take P2 in the overall standings because his main rival is currently running behind. So the M class has a little bit more of a battle here, because our championship leader Nikanen is 9th overall and 6th in the M class, and his main rivals are in front, especially Spon, who is currently 2nd in the championship standings. Spon is in the lead now of the M class, though Edvin Radekis, well, he's approaching quite fast, like a storm. Well, not like a storm, but he's definitely gaining on Daniel Spon here, and he was the faster car of the two in the qualifying session, so it's gonna be a very challenging task for Daniel Spon to kind of stay in front of Edvin Radekis, but it's 13 minutes on the clock. You have to do, well, you have to at least try to do it, as Sendritsky and Barbukov, they swap places again. Wow, so this is a nice little battle, and well, it's not for direct position between the drivers, but still, it would be nice for both of the drivers to win the overall class here in this race, as Edvin Radekis tries to follow up with Spon, as we see one of the MX-5s that was being lapped takes a short travel on the off track while he ran into the dirty part of the track. All the cars managed to avoid bigger problems, and Edvin Radekis again clipping the curb a little bit too aggressive, losing the traction, still staying within half a second distance between himself and Spon. What about Dautartas? Dautartas already 2 seconds behind this battle. Spon runs a little bit wider line here on the exit. You can definitely see him struggling here, but I don't think you can make an overtake into this turn, especially between equal cars. Edvin Radekis backs out of it. Well, all he needs to do here is just stay on the back end of that RT car in front, driven by Spon. Spon needs those points. Edvin Radekis wants to have fun. I think we run into the leaders of the MX-5 class as we go for an overtake. Edvin Radekis taking a very, very tight line. Barbakov is here. He is battling with Sendersky as Radek is retaking the lead of the M-Class. Oh man, how did they survive this? MX-5s, they are lighter cars. They don't have the pace, as Matas Mendelis goes into the pit lane, they don't have the pace of the GT4 cars, but they definitely do have the cornering grips. And as Edwin Radekis was taking a very, very tight line into the SS, well, Barbukov wanted to take that into his own advantage, as he's in a battle with Sendersky, and he almost ran into the back of Edwin Radekis, and Sendersky is already 1.5 seconds behind Barbukov, as we are getting ourselves ready to start the final 10 minutes of this race. 11 minutes on the clock. Matas Mendelis already went into the pit lane, and I'm pretty sure this was a very clever thing to do here. Because, well, his main rivals are still staying on the track. He was quite far behind Talianos and especially Nims. I think the pit stop here takes roughly 15 seconds in total. So Talianos, with his next pit stop, he will be very not too close of Matas Mendelis. And I think Matas Mendelis has a slight advantage now of a clear track, as Talianos still staying on the track, not having a visit into the pit lane. I'm pretty sure they are not on a fuel saving strategy here, because the pace of both Talianos and Nims is very fast compared to other drivers. So it's only a matter of time when the next driver will head into the pit lane, but I don't think it's gonna change too much. And now Talianos managed to pull out a bigger gap between himself and Mendelis. It was 19.2, it's now up to 19.8, so he's roughly 5 seconds safe from Matas Mendelis. As Daniel Spon, well, he has been overtaken by Edwin Radekis, but it looks like Edwin Radekis doesn't like the view in his mirrors, and well, he was able to go very fast while he was running behind Spon. Looks like he's struggling a little bit as he's in front. Look at the last lap times of both drivers. 134.9 for Edvinas, 134.6 for Daniel Spon. So this is a 3/10 difference, and it's a 5/10 difference between these two GT4M drivers. Dealing with the traffic, Edwin Radekis went through it a little bit better, and Barbukov, he lost 2 seconds, well, 1.2 seconds on the previous lap in comparison to Sendersky. Terciali, well, with an earlier pit stop, he's basically 13 seconds behind this battle. If something goes wrong here between these two drivers, Terciali might have a chance. Well, if nothing goes wrong between these two drivers, there's no chance for Terciali, so I'm not sure if Sendersky has the need to overtake Barbukov, but he's going for it, and Barbukov doesn't want to make it happen, or takes a slightly wider line around the Melbourne hairpin as we approach the Goddard's corner, two slowest hairpins of the racetrack, and Barbukov has the inside now into the final turn as we head out onto the straight, and this is a nice little battle influencing the pace of both of the drivers, but they have a very healthy lead against their nearest rival of their own, and they can allow themselves this battle as long as they are very respectful to each other. But that's all that we've seen so far. Both of the drivers well, not willing to stick behind each other, giving it a go, and still leaving enough of space, enough of respect for each other around the corners. And it's a battle not too important for both of the drivers. It's just whoever finishes first will take the overall win. But both of the drivers are currently leaders of their classes. Side by side, it doesn't work out at McLean's, as we approach Coppice corner, running down the hill onto Starcase straight, approaching the SS, dealing with the traffic. It's out of the way, not disturbing the lap time of both of these MX-5s. And it's half of a second gap again between Barbukov and Sendersky. Oh, we joined the track with Edvin Žadeikis. He's 1.8 seconds in front of Spon. 17 seconds behind Matas Mendelis. Matas Mendelis losing quite a lot of time. It looks like the traffic game isn't working out for Matas Mendelis, as Talianos is still proving that he has a lot of pace to extract out of his tires. It's a 1:34.1 equal time as the last lap time of Jan Nimtz. And I'm already getting confused, and my confuse reaches the end because Jan Nimtz is entering the pit lane, and I'm pretty sure Talianos will do the same. He's very slow. It looked like Talianos was very, very slow on the entry. Matas Mendelis only now around the Melbourne hairpin. He still needs to complete the Goddard's corner, and I think there will be no chance for Matas Mendelis to gain on Talianos. He's lost a little bit too much on the racetrack. Talianos having problems. I think Talianos missed his pit stop, and Matas Mendelis through into P2. Talianos gets moving, but I think no, he will have nothing to do with Edvin Žadeikis, but this is P2 lost, and this can happen during the races that have pit stops, even though they are safe pit stops, they are short pit stops. But something happened with Talianos. First, a very slow entry by the looks of it into the pit lane by Talianos. Then I think he missed his spot. He needed to find the reverse gear to go into his pit stall for the refuel situation. He lost roughly 15 seconds with the previous pit stop, and this is a very big gift for Matas Mendelis, who basically made no mistakes during this whole race, had a very successful earlier pit stop. He's now 14 seconds behind Jan Nimtz, and well, if he has enough of fuel in his fuel tank, he'll off into a very nice finish. Taberna has received a drive-through penalty for cutting the chicane, I assume. Spon still runs 5th and 3rd in the Pro-M class. What about Dautartas? He's also safe in P3 in the Pro-M category. Yuri Lapo 4th, Kletzer 5th, Nikanen still 6th. And I don't see any chance for Nikanen to finish any higher unless something happens for the drivers in front. Barbukov still in the lead of the MX5 overall standings. Sendersky still quite close. 3rd place in the MX5 class and 2nd in the MX5 Pro M class still belongs to Tarchali. Markaitis 4th and 2nd in the MX5 Pro M class. So no big changes here as Matas Mendelis sets 2 wheels off the curb and sends the car flying sideways, but nice car control, and he keeps going forwards with no big problems here. So it looks like it's only a procedure left here to finish off this race. Bigger gaps between the drivers, no real on-track fights happening here at this moment. Spon 2 seconds behind Žadeikis, but Žadeikis being the faster driver. So the MX5 was running sideways. This is Shire. I think Shire is in the lead of the MX5 M class. So both leaders of the MX5 class in both categories are not having a very nice race. Oh, actually, no, I'm talking nonsense. So the Pro-M is led by Barbukov, and Barbukov is in the lead of the MX5 class. I have mistaken Nikanen as being a MX5 driver. So MX5M class leader is having difficulties, not very good race here. Also Nikanen, the leader of the GT4 Pro M class, is not having the best day. So interesting shuffle might greet the categories, the classes of the championship, as Taberna takes the drive-through penalty, and Barbakov and Sandersky, two biggest friends here on the racetrack, both trying to decide who should finish in front of whom. Both will be declared as winners if they avoid contacts, damages, failures, and whatever might happen on the way. Still, both of them want to cross the finish line in front of each other, as this is Jan Nimtz overtaking both of the MX-5 cars with 1 minute and 19 seconds on the clock. That means we are on the penultimate lap of this race, and we will start the final lap the next time Jan Nimtz will cross the line, and that will count for both of the MX-5 cars. I wonder if they will try and decide to make a show out of it. Barbakov will try to hold on to the lead of the overall MX-5 class. Sandersky, he'll definitely be willing to make something happen. Well, at least a chance. Have a look into the corner, and Barbakov, I think there was a contact between Barbakov and Sandersky. It was not intentional, so yep, it was definitely a small contact between Sandersky and Barbakov. Nice reaction by Barbakov, nice outcome by Sandersky. He understood that this is not the way how he should or would overtake his rival. Just waited out until he got back on the power and found himself behind Barbakov. This is the final lap of the race, so I'm pretty sure it's game over here unless Barbakov makes another mistake, and Sandersky, well, if he wants to take that place, he wants to take it not with some sort of a contact. Nimtz going around the Kopitz corner. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing it very incorrectly, but it was still the Kopitz, the 8th corner of the racetrack. We approach the SS, and it's only 2 corners to go for Jan Nimtz, the leader of this race, the leader of this championship. He has not seen any place worse than first, not in qualifying sessions and not in the races, running around the Melbourne hairpin for the last time this afternoon. 12th corner in front of Jan Nimtz to be completed, taking a slightly tighter line, clipping the apex, holding on to the curb as he is approaching the start and finish line to take his 3rd win of this championship. Coming to a hold as Matas Mendelis will finish 2nd, and we see Sandersky in the background, still in the battle with Barbakov, and I think this time Sandersky was able to overtake Barbakov. I'm not sure if everything was within the legal limits of this race, but what a nice finish for the MX-5 class, as I've already lost the drivers who still need to finish. I think Jan Nimtz took the win, Mendelis finished 2nd, Talianos 3rd, and then we have Edwin Ožeikis crossing the line 4th and 1st in the Pro M class. What about Daniel Spahn? Yep, he's here to cross the line, and we need to wait and see how the field finishes off. Dautartas finishes 6th and 3rd in the M class. What about the MX-5? So Sandersky took the win, Barbakov finished 2nd. Somehow we see Terciali in front of Barbakov. I'm not sure what's that all about. Oh, okay, I think Terciali, well, he's in the pit lane. What's happening here? So did Barbakov have some sort of an issue? Maybe a drive-through penalty on the final lap, as he's losing places, definitely. So Barbakov, he was leading the race, the leader of the MX-5 Pro Plus class. I think either this is a timetable issue, race tower issue, or Barbakov having some problems. Looking at the WorldSimSeries platform, nope, Barbakov, well, he finished 2nd and 1st in the Pro MX-5 Pro M class. As we can finish off this race now with having a look at the final results as soon as we reach out for that screen. The overall results are now placed on your screens, and let's go through the classes. So Janim's taking the win in the GT4 Pro Plus class. Mendelis finished second, Talianos third, Baranauskas fourth, and Taberna fifth. So the GT4 Pro M class, which had a lot of drivers here, was won by Edvin Žadeikis. Špon finished second and Dautartas third. MX5 Pro M class has been won by Barbukov. Everything great with the results of Barbukov. Tarciali finished second, Salvador third, and the MX5 M class has been won by Sendersky. Sendersky won the overall MX5 class. Markaitis finished second and Shire finished third. So it was definitely another nice and entertaining race. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and as always, we will meet for the next round of this championship in 2 weeks. As we stay on the continent of Great Britain, we will head over to the Brands Hatch circuit for the next time we will meet on this racetrack. And that's going to be the 4th round of the championship. And it's now time for me to say goodbye. Have a good and pleasant evening. Hope you enjoyed the racing action. If you want to get involved yourself in something that you have witnessed here on the screens, it's not a very hard task to achieve. Just go to the WorldSimSeries.com website, the platform, and you can become a part of this whole sim racing family and race on the same racetrack. For now, it's a goodbye from me, and see you in a couple of weeks.